Full of questions. Whoa, there we go. We're on. Michelle?
I will say, well, meetings because they couldn't understand us.
Okay. In the cash balance reports, I see we added the campground. Are we going to add James Valley Community Center to that?
James Valley Community Center is already under Fund 218 as part of the Palace Transit Program or RSVP program.
Are we going to, can we break that
Community
out
services.
to know that since we voted to fund it separately, that we know that it's either making money or not making money?
I have separate revenue and expense line items for it in that fund. I can send to the department listing for you, but it,
Okay. I'm just curious. I mean, I
Yeah.
consider,
I'm not sure it
we
should
voted
be
to pull
its-
that out similar to what we did with the campground. And I'd like to know, we're budgeting X amount of dollars for it. They said they'd make money. I want to know if they're making money.
yeah, we can look at that and I can talk to legislative audit too and see if it qualifies as being its own enterprise fund
Okay.
Or a separate special fund.
or a separate special revenue.
And then and thanks to Wade for sending us the information on what's getting mowed and not mowed and that type of stuff. But why do we have some items where we have a cost and then the fee doesn't cover the cost? Is that because, for instance,
You're talking nuisance property.
yeah, 225 cost and the fee we charged was $100. So is that because not all of it's charged to the property owner, or what is the difference there? Does anybody know, or can we put that on a list to see if we can get that answered?
We'll have to get back to you with an answer.
Okay.
Steve.
I'm just curious as to, some of them might be city property that we're taking care of at the same time or something. I don't know. But some people we charge the cost and we charge them the full fee, and some we don't. I don't know what the difference is. And then I just wanted, I didn't know if anybody else was going to comment on first and second penny sales and the third penny sales numbers, but they're in there. So.
Yep, first and second penny is down 2.39% compared to the same time period last year. So it has taken a little bit more of a hit during the last month than it has in the past months. And third penny is up 0.33%, so it's just holding steady.
And these numbers are comparing to last year, correct? So our budget remained flat. Michelle and I were just discussing revenue here with budget coming up, and we believe that we're going to roll that revenue number back to what the actual received was last year, because at this rate, we still anticipate $250,000 short, which will have to be offset by contingency. So we're just going to lower that revenue expectation and offset it with the contingency amount that we have in the budget.
Scott, for this month, have you seen an increase with visitors at the Corn Palace?
We have, actually. I don't have the exact numbers to date, but May 10th through the end of May, we were up around 7,000 visitors.
Very good. Thank you.
Mayor, I had one item I wanted to kind of bring up, and it doesn't need to be removed, but probably won't be able to get it tonight, but if we can maybe do a follow-up also. With the Veterans Park, I see the two we've got listed, the change orders. Initially, that we we had like $38,000 of change orders, which is kind of nice to see going that direction. And I asked Danny today, I know we've got a contingency, but how are we sitting on that? I don't know if anybody can answer that or not, and don't expect it tonight, but at least if we can get that for the future, it would be good to know, kind of where we're sitting with
With regards to those two change orders, you mean, or?
the overall contingency. Yeah, in case something else pops up, because it's really looking nice and starting to come together. So hopefully we're getting toward the end. I don't know.
Kim, you can probably do a better job explaining this change order than I can, but my understanding is one was assigned to the other vendor, and they just kind of transferred the fund from one to the other, and so that's why one was a plus and one was a minus.
Yeah,
How would
one
you
was,
explain that?
I was out there today with them, one was colored concrete versus stained, and there's the difference. One can do it, one can't, and that's where the difference was.
So one increase.
And if I understand Jeff's question, it's more how have we been doing fundraising? Have we raised more funds than we knew about a couple months ago?
Yeah, and I think initially, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, Stephanie, maybe you can remember.
I've got
Did-
it up right
okay,
here if you
so
want to look at it.
Is there a contingency?
Right now, if you just looked at actual cash that's been received and actual expenses that are known, you would show that you have $657 more in revenue than expenses. And remember, you as a city committed, I think it was what, 18 to 20,000 of city funds?
Right.
So you still have that contingency that you guys had set aside too. So
Okay.
you're doing fine, and this isn't Lyndon and the fundraising team, I guess, I don't know who else is all on that, might have other revenue coming in that's not up here on the top as well.
Okay, so
Because
we
right now
should
it
be
shows
sitting
that
pretty
they've already
good.
collected 11,440 more than what you guys originally passed the budget on, and that's without all of the revenue even coming in yet. You have more revenue that was going to come in 18 and more
So
this
that's not
year.
even on there.
No, this is just
No.
actual revenue received.
But we had a contingency
Yep.
fund of, I thought, between 20 and 35,000.
Yeah, I'd have to pull it up. Oh, actually, I think I have it.
But the only way that get used is when we have a change order, is that correct? Pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, if you need,
Yeah.
when it's need,
And we
correct.
haven't had that many.
You know, this change order, one was a plus and one was a minus, and one offset the other one, so. it's
Yeah,
kind of
so we're
balanced.
pretty even.
Yep, so even if you just look at the actual revenue that's already brought in this year, you're already 11,444 above the budget, and that's without all the committed funds being received yet. So
Good.
I think it's doing very well.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie.
Any more discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Smith,
Aye.
Charts, Allen,
Aye.
Barrington, Robinson, Tronis,
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Carried. Citizens' input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, and no action will be taken at this time. Anybody from the gallery there? Citizens' input? Anybody?
I have something, I don't know if you're ready for us to chime in.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to hear how things are going with our change to two-way streets downtown on Main Street.
With the what, Susan? I'm
The
sorry.
two-way streets change. I noticed today as I was leaving the bank that some of the signage coming out of the Wells Fargo drive-through still says one way and no right turn, and so we probably need to, what's that? Is it? So we need to maybe follow through with them and make sure that, I didn't know if there were other places, it was the first that I had noticed, but I noticed that the roads are all really well marked. Oh,
Lyndon?
Where were those signs at?
at Wells Fargo,
In their lot?
as you leave
They're
their
private signs?
drive-through.
It's on
uh-huh.
private
Then
property.
we can't do anything with them.
So we just need to tell them.
You got to tell them, yep.
Those- Okay.
We can't remove them.
Have you had any other complaints or any problems with it?
People are adjusting. I think it'll come along pretty good.
Yeah.
We're putting new turn lanes in tomorrow on Main Street.
Okay,
The old
good.
ones got covered up. We did the lane marker dividers today. I mean, it takes a few days process. The other option was we just closed down all the streets for 2 or 3 days to do it. We did not think that would be very functional. So every day, we should be completing this pretty quick here.
Oh, are you, now we're talking about the Main Street thing too? Yes.
Well, no,
And
I'm still the
signage
one-ways.
for the two ways.
Still the one-ways, yep. We'll be adding a few things to it yet
Okay.
and completing it. So thanks for your patience with
Yeah.
this. So.
Well, I just wondered if we'd had any accidents or anything, so
Not aware of
I'm
any.
glad to hear that there haven't been. That's great. And it was a perfect segue into my next thing, Lyndon. I was just, I had a call from a downtown business today, and they were very concerned about, you know, why we have the road closed during tourist season and whatnot. And I went and visited their business, and one of the things that he had mentioned was that there were still some signage downtown that said that the sidewalks were closed and whatnot. And I went down and had a visit with Terry and with Dick Figland, and we were able to take those signs down, the sidewalks closed signs. But I just wanted to make sure that as a city, we are keenly tuned into our downtown businesses. And quite frankly, I feel like with as much road construction as we have going on right now between Burr and Main Street, and today it was Lawler, maybe was that the water main, or was it on Raleigh? Anyway, but it was difficult to get around downtown, and I think that as much as we can, if we can be tuned in to doing what we can to accommodate those businesses and keep the roads open as much as possible. I even suggested maybe to Lyndon that we have some of our workers maybe do some work after hours, like starting at 10 o'clock or whatever, if there were jobs that could be done when businesses aren't and tourists aren't downtown. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but I thought if we at least, you know, we're trying to keep our good business people downtown still in business during this process, it would be great as much as possible.
Susan, I think Tim's got a little update for you on
Oh,
Yeah,
Great.
since 4 o'clock, and I was out until almost 4 o'clock, but since 4 o'clock, I've had conversations with no fewer than 7 people about Main Street and why we can't get it open and can we get it open. I talked to the contractor, and he's the one who is kind of stuck right now, and these contractors have to go one after the other after the other. They don't all show up at one time. So the paving contractor doesn't do the concrete. He doesn't do the brick. He doesn't do the dirt, the next one. So they kind of have to follow in a row. And the one that's left now, putting the dirt in the planters in the sidewalk, was planning on doing that on Wednesday. We didn't want to open the street because we thought that would be hazardous to his workers and traffic. But after I talked to him tonight, he is going to try to move that up and get it done tomorrow, his dirt work. Now, this isn't a promise. It is a possibility that if all goes well, if the city gets its paint down, if we get temporary stop signs up, because the permanent stop signs haven't arrived yet. That's a contractor's job to put those up, and they haven't come yet, but we may get some temporaries up, and if he can't get them, Lyndon says maybe we can get them up. So I want to emphasize possible. I also want to emphasize safety. We are going to try our hardest to get that street open tomorrow. And the dirt contractor said he will, if we get it open and he's not done, he'll haul the rest by wheelbarrow if he has to. So that's been most of my conversation since 4 o'clock.
thanks for that update, Tim. That is great news. So I appreciate that.
Susan, on Saturday I was driving by, I wanted to check out the two-ways. And very early on, I didn't see anybody having a problem adjusting to where they were going to park. You know, the parking was right, the turning was right. Spent several, times I was down there just to see it. People read the signs. They were doing well, I thought. And I didn't see them coming down Third the wrong way by my house. So, yeah.
Any more discussion? Okay, if not, we'll move on to discussion on annual decorating of the Corn Palace murals.
I think I'll take the lead. It says my name on it even. Anyway, I did ask to get this put on this evening. I don't know if if people look at me as the Corn Palace man out there or what, but it seems like when things happen with the Corn Palace, I seem to get more phone calls probably than the rest of you, and I'm not saying you haven't received any, and hopefully we'll get to that part of the discussion. I always tell them to call Scott, but it doesn't work out that way. They still seem to call me. But recently I've received a lot of phone calls about the appearance of our murals outside. I think all of us are totally aware of a decision was made not to decorate the murals in 2016. I think we also know where my stance has been on that ever since then. I've always agreed to the fact that we made a mistake and we made a bad decision on not doing those murals. I think today if we all walk outside and take a look at it, I think we should all be, I don't know what proper word I want to use, but I guess in my mind, very embarrassed in the way they look for what our iconic feature that we have here in the city of Mitchell represents. We all know we put a lot of money into the Corn Palace every year. We got some beautiful murals on top of it. We got some beautiful domes on top of it. They're not quite as nice. I would like them quite yet, Scott, because they're not dancing, and you can't see them from the interstate yet because the dimmers aren't in place yet. But I know that's getting closer to that process too. But I just take a look at it on what we have right outside of this building here, and I just think there's been a couple board meetings of late that have come out. I know the Corn Palace Events and Entertainment Board had their meeting just last week, I believe it was, and the Operation Advisory Committee had their meeting. Looks like from the notes that I'm seeing, they both have recommendations to hopefully decorate the murals every single year. And I guess where my stance has always been at, and I know it's only on discussion night, but I really want us to keep on moving forward of decorating the murals every year as a council and as you, Mayor, and as future mayors down the road, because like I said, there's just certain things that even though it has a cost to it, and I know the numbers are here, and I know Stephanie, if she wants, she can definitely barrel it out a little more. They did the best they can on how much they cost for an hourly rate on employees and all this kind of stuff. But I think it just comes down to there's certain areas that we need to make sure we keep on investing our money in our city. And this is one. I mean, for example, Scott just said tourism's up 7,000 people this last few weeks here. And yes, they're going to keep on coming, and it's great to hear that our numbers are up, and we'll see where they're at the end of the year. It's still the fact that if there's 200,000 or 250,000 people when it all comes said and done, is the fact that we want them to leave it with a positive aspect on it, a positive vibe on it, where they can go out and tell other people and not say, wow, I went there and I see nice dilapidated corn. That's something that I think we need to avoid, and I don't think we did that. The biggest concern that I also have is the fact of doing it every other year. And I think Danny actually mentioned this once, and I'm going to mention again. What if we have a drought? What if we can't do corn this year? So now we're going to go another year? You don't plan on not decorating the murals. You might not be able to do it one year, but you don't plan on it. And that's what we did. We planned on not doing it, and I think we made a big mistake. So I hope we can get past the rest of the year. I hope we have a good corn grow. I think the operational, I think you guys had some discussion with Mr. Strand, and hopefully there was some positiveness out of that. But those are the times we don't want to have, that happen that we don't plan for, and that's the years that we might not be able to have to decorate it. But I just want us to make sure that we move forward on an every year annual decorating. I just think it's the right decision that we need to make. We got to make sure we find the money to do it. And I think majority of the citizens think it's the right decision too. This Corn Palace represents not just us sitting here in this room, but it represents everybody in the city too. And I think that's what we need to move forward to and make sure their city looks right for them also. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if anybody else here has had any outcries from people or any other opinions, but I'd like to have any other council members jump on in. I know we got the budget coming up real soon. Obviously, that would be the next year where we wouldn't decorate if we did the every other year. I hope we have money in the budget for decorating next year, and I hope I have the support for that. So,
when you were talking about a drought there, Marty, we did have one in 2001, so droughts do happen.
Yes.
And like I said, we had our Corn Palace Events and Entertainment Committee meeting, I think that was a week before last. And they made a recommendation as a collective group, because I wanted their recommendation to come from the Corn Palace Operations Committee. As part of their responsibility in that committee is to look at all aspects of operation, from concessions to labor to murals, anything to do with cost in order to cut that deficit that that we're dealing with right now. So that recommendation from the Corn Palace Events and Entertainment Committee was made to the Corn Palace Operations Committee. They voted, and the vote was, as you pointed out there, to do the murals every year. So, and I think that's where we are now. So it's up to the city council to make the to vote on, not this time, because this is not an action
Correct.
thing on the agenda tonight, but maybe at the next meeting, you guys can make your motion to.
Yeah, and if that's what it takes, I would like to see it, and obviously let's have some discussion here what other people's heard, but I would definitely like to see it on the next agenda for approval with the recommendations coming from the committees.
I'm just wondering.
Hopefully have the vote for that also.
Is there anybody in the audience that's here for that reason? Got any comments or any remarks regarding that? None?
I'd like to ask this to Scott, and a gentleman asked me this morning. Any tourists say anything about the murals, of how they look to you, or have you heard any feedback? They're the ones, we notice it because we're here all the time. What about the tourists?
There's times that I actually hear both sides of the story. But a lot of the murals, I get a lot of complaints, typically 8 o'clock to noon in the morning if we have not hit the sidewalks yet from everything falling off. But
I will say,
more than that
Danny,
kind of stuff.
too, in response to your question there, I was out in front of the Corn Palace. It was Tuesday or Sunday, and there was six people out there, 3 couples. 4 of them were from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and 2 of them were from Millbank. And they were on the south side of the Corn Palace looking at the murals. Quite frankly, their comments were they thought the murals looked pretty good for being up for 2 years. So like Scott has said, I've heard both sides.
Sure.
I've heard the positive, I've heard the negative, so I guess it all depends on who you talk to.
Is it mostly pigeon, Scott, that's doing it? Doing the damage on the murals? Tell me that.
Oh, yeah, and mice.
Can we trap them? Don't have to kill them, just trap them and move them to some other city.
Well, if they're homing pigeons, they'll come back again, Danny.
They're not homer pigeons.
Danny, you talking about the mice or the pigeons?
It's a thought.
Well, I just had a conversation today with a store owner, actually, same store owner, and he mentioned that he had some ladies there from Wisconsin, and that they had mentioned how very disappointed that they'd heard so much about our murals, and that that they took a look at them and said, well, they're sure not in very good shape, and they had commented to him. So I know that I think it would be unusual if there were anyone sitting around this table that hasn't heard complaints, but I too would strongly be in support of us making a commitment to an annual decorating of the palace murals. I think that, to bank on it on an every other year and then to have a year where we may hit a drought is completely irresponsible on our part. So I think that we need to take good care and have good stewardship over our Corn Palace, and that includes making those murals an annual priority. I think that we have people that come every year and they take pictures. In fact, I've talked to some of the tourists that every year come and take a picture of themselves by the Corn Palace with the new murals, and they have a collection. And I think how disappointing that will be when they come this year and find that we didn't make the effort to make that change. So, and I do like Willie and Elvis. I mean, I really, really, really like them, but it's time for them to, it's time for Elvis to leave the
We can all
building.
agree that it's going to be on the agenda for a vote in the next election, next council meeting. So at that time, you all get the opportunity to vote. There you go.
I did just want to make one point too. In the operations committee, there was quite a bit of discussion about the deficit and how much has been reduced in the last year even on that. And one of the conversations is too that Scott's got a much better way of tracking what the actual expenses are for the decorating now. So it's very easy for us as a city to say, okay, we know that expense is going to be $150,000 and that's an accurate number. So we can use entertainment tax to fund that process, and it doesn't have to show as part of that operational deficit. That can be aside and set aside and different from the rest of that as
We've
well.
taken $200,000, correct me if I'm wrong on that, Stephanie, but we've taken $200,000 out of the general fund to subsidize the total of the $500,000 deficit, I think it is.
I think it was 587 this year. I'm not sure.
It's quite a deficit, and that was the reason why I formed this Corn Palace Operation Committee, to look at all aspects of operation. And we've got some pretty astute business people on that committee. Just mention a couple. Jeff Logan's on there, and he, of course, there's no one knows concessions better than Jeff Logan, and he's on this committee. And we got Glenda Cook on there that has the cornerstones on this committee, and Dave Jonas has been on the committee, and Jeff Smith has been on this committee. So I think we got some pretty good people on this committee to study the different aspects of operation, and hopefully over the next couple of years, we can come up with a lot of ideas to reduce that deficit. That's the goal anyway.
My point was just to be that doesn't have to show as the operational part, because that was one of the biggest conversations, that the murals really aren't tied to the operation of the building, and that's a good use of that entertainment tax to fund that process. So-
Katie Knudsen from CVB brought up a really important point. I think that while Corn Palace isn't the only moneymaker as far as tax dollars or, tourism, but she was just out, what was that convention? It was like the
It was
tourist or tour guides?
the bus tour.
Bus tours. And they were asked several times, well, you going to have the same murals again? So they noticed. And apparently that's an issue that helps sell the buses to come and stop in Mitchell, is the different murals. So I thought that was kind of a key point. Along with the one thing too, Mayor, we did recommend also the education, because this committee went through a heck of a education on just what it takes to grow the 10 different varieties of corn and the land and the labor. And I think it's something that we need to do, is to educate our taxpayers. Why does that cost as much as it does?
Now, in a quick summation is, I mean, they used to have 12 different colors of corn, and you need 5 acres for each color. And then each acre has to be so far apart so they don't crossbreed. So there is a science to it. It's not something you just plant and grow it and hope it comes out the way you want it to come out. $275,000.
Now it's up to
corn.
325.
Yeah.
300, that's what it used to be before we increased the size of our murals. Then they say 325,000
No, it
years.
was 275,000.
It's up to that?
Well, it was 275,000 ears of corn with the way the murals used to be.
Right.
It's more now.
It's more now.
So I guess if there's no more conversation regarding the murals of the Corn Palace, we'll move on and entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as a board of adjustment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is an act to set the date for the Board of Adjustment hearing for 7/3/2017. Mitchell Technical Institute is requesting variances for installation of 3 on-premise signages on billboard structures of approximately 672 square feet that exceed the maximum square footage permitted in the sign code. The property is legally described as that part of the southwest quarter of Section 26, T103 North, R60 West, west of the 5th PM, Davidson County, City of Mitchell, lying east of the Chicago and Milwaukee Railroad right-of-way and south of I-90, which is 1800 East Spruce Street. The property is located within the Mitchell Technical Institute Planned Development District.
Set the date.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a hearing on Mitchell Power Equipment LLC, Larry Barcher at 113 East 2nd Avenue in Gordon and Darlene Bailey, 118 North Main Street. Whereas Mitchell Public Power Equipment LLC, Larry Barcher and Gordon and Darlene Bailey are making an application for a conditional use permit for operation of a service center for small engine or motorized engine repair and outdoor sales and storage. The property is legally described as West 51 feet and 2 inches of lots 1 and 2A, Block 12, original edition 113/115 East 2nd Avenue in Lot 16, Block 12, original edition 118 North Main Street, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, and the property is zoned CB, Central Business District.
If I could direct your attention to the Planning Commission minutes of June the 12th, you would see that they did hold, the Planning Commission did hold a hearing and did recommend approval of this conditional use. When we updated the code in late 2012, early 2013, this use became a conditional use. And well, what happened is I think over the time, it just didn't expand until all of a sudden now it started coming out and being a little bit more visible, and that's how it came to our attention. So we had a conversation with Mr. Barter about that, and he said it was just totally an oversight. You know, when he purchased the property, he didn't get the proper conditional use permit. So he was very accommodating to that as well. And then that's what he does is he uses that Bailey's or Charlie's, if you will, uses that as during the summer for his excess. So that's what this is about. So that's why you see the one where you talk about the outside. This was not complaint driven or anything like that. We didn't get any complaints. Actually, if you would see that we did get some comments back in the affirmative of some of the neighboring property owners. So you would see that. But again, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of it before you. Again, and the minutes are right there if you wish to comment. Unless there's anybody here wish to speak on that. So it was just.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing on Randy Wittstruck, 615 South Kimball Street. Randy is requesting an oversized variance of 2,400 square feet versus 2,000 square feet for construction of a detached garage. The property is legally described as Lot 134, Overlook Addition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, 615 South Kimball Street, and the property is zoned R3.
Again, the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on this request on June the 12th and did recommend approval on a unanimous vote. So.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Entertaining motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a discussion on possible consideration to change ordinances in an effort to allowing for a pet pig project located at 1513 West Hampton. Same rules.
Is it okay to
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Cassandra Bundy. I reside at 1513 West Hanson Avenue here in Mitchell, South Dakota. And I'm asking... Is that better? Okay, sorry. My name is Cassandra Bundy. I reside at 1513 West Hanson Avenue here in Mitchell, South Dakota with my family. I'm making a request that you modify the ordinance 6-1-4 to state that miniature Juliana pigs be different than livestock. My pigs do not get any bigger than 30 pounds. They are not raised for butcher to be eaten. They also are allergy free, so if you have an allergy to dogs or cat and cannot have a pet, you can have a pig. They are the fourth smartest animal. They're very clean. We trained ours to use a litter box and to go outside through a doggy door. They walk on a harness. They're good with our kids and other animals. We built a building outside for them. We had a permit from the city for that. It's a 12 by 32 foot shed. We put draining, electrical, plumbing, heater. They have everything they need. They're happy, healthy little pigs. We have a vet reference. I do have 6 of them. The biggest one is 20 pounds. The smallest one is 11 pounds. So we're just asking that you guys modify the ordinance so we can keep them.
Are these pets or is this a business?
These are pets.
So you don't sell them? You
We
don't
do
raise them
not.
to sell them?
No, we do not sell them.
How many do you have?
We have 6. I have 2 males and 4 females. We did have 7. We had another male. He passed away from a pig stroke. I had him at the vet for about a week trying to save his life. I wouldn't do that for a livestock. So I was very attached to him. It took me about 2 weeks to not cry for missing him, but our whole family's attached to him. I mean, they're not livestock, so we're just asking that we are able to keep them.
How many litters a year did they have?
They can have 2 litters a year. They are pregnant for 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days.
And what, do you sell them then? Or what do you do?
We would sell them, and we also have already called down. I did this before I even got the pigs. If I needed to get an LLC to do this, if the city required me to have a breeding license, and I was given all that information that I would need that. I was talking to a lawyer for an LLC to do this, but I put that on hold pending what happened here today.
So I'm confused. It is a business? You're planning on making it a business?
We were going to breed them, but we were told in order to sell the babies inside of city limits of Mitchell, I had to have a breeding license. But to get that number, I had to have an actual business, like an LLC name for that.
So as a pet, Justin, do we have a limit on how many dogs or cats people can own versus?
I don't believe so, not as to non-livestock, I would say. So just to be clear, at this time, you're not planning to sell them, but in the future, you are planning to sell them.
Yes, we got these, I've always wanted a mini pig. When we got them, they're better if they have another pig to play with type of thing. You can socialize them better that way. So that's why we have the ones that we do, and we've grown attached to all of them that we have. So yes, we do want to eventually have babies and sell them for a lot cheaper than everybody else does. A lot of people, if you look at them up, sell them for $3,500. We're not even going to sell them for a third of that. You know, like I said, they're allergy free. They're very good pets. You know, everybody that's come to our house and met them loves them. We've gotten, when you're having babies, we'd love a pig. You know, so I mean, we're doing it to help people that can't have a dog and cat as well.
So, that's really bad. So you've just expressed one of my first concerns that came up when I saw this. Because I can see in your pictures that you have a beautiful facility for them. It's very clean and it's very well taken care of, and the pigs are immaculate. But it's hard for you to be able to say that when you sell them to someone else within the city limits that they will be able to provide for them in the same way.
See, if the thing is if you sell just the one, they can be in the house. The one that actually had the stroke, he was in our house. I wish I could show you the videos of him chasing our kids around, playing with our kids, cuddling with us. But the fact that we have 6 of them, had 7 of them, you know, to have them all in our house, that's just not feasible. But if someone gets just one, I know people that have one in their house. you know, you can train it like a dog, so it's different that way, whether you have one or multiple.
So how do you control that they only have one pig if it's not you?
Well, what we do, I do the same thing that the breeders did with me that I got mine from. They do home checks, they ask you questions, you sign a contract. You know, you have to prove that you're taking care of this pig with 6 phone calls and pictures of the pig growing every year. You cannot sell it to someone else. The one that I, like my adults that I have contracts that I can't sell them. You know, I have their breeding rights. You know, so all of mine are going to be fixed, you know, and I am going to do reference checks, make sure that, you know, you don't have another pig in the home, and if you do, you're not inside city limits.
Justin, what ordinance is this making a reference to, and what does that current ordinance say, and how would that change?
Well, we've got a couple of different issues. She did have one of the ordinances, which would be 6-1-4. It's subsection I on keeping livestock within the city. Part 3 of that states that no person shall place, keep, or maintain any live hogs within the city except such hogs as are kept in the yards or pens of the railway companies for shipping purposes, or in pens, houses, or yards of the stockyards, packing houses, or butcher shops, and kept for the purpose of immediate shipment or slaughter. So if the council wanted to make a change to that, I think it would be simple enough to add in an exception to allow for pigs to be kept as pets, and if you wanted to put some kind of a number cap on that, again, that would be easy enough to write into the ordinance. The other issue that I think is going to be a bigger problem is that this would also be a zoning violation. The residence here is in the R2 residential. Yep, R2 residential district. The type of operation that we're talking about, I'll read the definition for it. It's called animal boarding. This is any structure, land, or combination thereof used, designed, or arranged for the boarding, breeding, or care of domestic animals for profit, but exclusive of animals for agricultural purposes. So I think it's pretty clear that this would be an animal boarding operation. The problem is, in the R2 district, it's not a permitted use, and it's not even a conditional use. So the ordinance, the zoning ordinance would have to be modified to at least allow that as a conditional use. One of the concerns that's been brought up, if that course of action is taken, is what does that open up the door to? I know the council's had previous discussions about chicken operations, you know, dog, cat breeding, all kinds. So I guess that's probably the larger concern here.
So based on R2 zoned and that it's not a conditional or permitted use even in statute now, the question I had posed to me is if this was somebody raising dogs and breeding dogs in this R2 section, that wouldn't be allowed either, correct?
No, it would not. It would still be a zoning violation.
Still be a zoning violation.
So the part that concerned me when I read it is referencing back to the chickens. You know, we had a lot of discussion on chickens in the city, you know, and so someone comes now and says, okay, well, these 6 chickens are my pets. Not livestock, it's pets. And I have to throw out these questions.
I understand.
Then what do we say at that? What's a pet? What's a livestock? How do we make that determination, species by species? I don't know. To me, it seems like it's.
I understand that too, but the thing is with the pigs, my pigs don't, like, they don't grow bigger than their parents if both their parents are smaller. I have papers in here showing you that my parents of my pigs, the biggest one is 31 pounds. My pigs will not get any bigger than that. You know, live hogs, they can get up to 770 pounds, and that was the papers I was served with by animal control, that I had domesticated livestock thinking that I had 300-pound pigs at my house, which I don't, you know. Like I said, they're very small, they're very smart. My kids love them, the neighborhood kids play with them. They are different than livestock.
My question, you said you had 4 males and 3 females now, or?
Two males and 4 females.
And those 4 females, 2 litters a year, and how many per year? How many per litter? Or 6?
They average 3 to 5 for the smaller ones. However, they have to be a certain age before they can be bred. None of mine are a year old yet.
So if they last to 15, what are they? 5 years they start?
Well, yeah, but when every person that we've talked to when we got ours, they don't breed theirs past 8 years old. So, and most of them don't start till they're 2 or 3. So the main reason we got them when they're so little as well is you got to socialize them. You got to, you do have to treat them just like a dog or a cat. You got to socialize and pet them, play with them, so that's how they grow up.
So at one time, you could have 20 to 25 pigs at your place.
You could if you bred them at the same time, which we are not going to do.
The problem I have with this is you obviously are very much aware of what it takes, how to handle them, how to treat them. I mean, I can see you as being obviously a good owner and steward of this operation. However, I can tell you, and anybody else here in the room I'm sure would tell you, that dogs and cats are allowed. And you might have 10 people that are good owners and stewards of that dog, cat, or dogs and cats, but another one that is not a good steward. And we have that to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a project like this into a city and opening that up is definitely opening up something that is probably not, very functional. And with considering our ordinances for the fact that it's not even allowed in an R2 district, I don't see this as being a good feasibility. And I mean, this is nothing against you, this is nothing against the way you take care of your animals. But it's just not, I don't believe, a good situation for Mitchell.
I mean, I'm not saying it's about the money, but I mean, we just put quite a bit of money building that shed. I mean, $8,000 shed. I mean, it's got plumbing, we set it up nice, not to mention what we paid for them, driving to the different states to get them. I have the receipts showing that one state I actually had to get a permit to carry that pig over here, and it was the right one for South Dakota. I did everything I was supposed to do, getting the vet. I have a vet reference. He takes care of them. I mean, so if anybody were to just get one from me, that is fixed. That could be the only one they have. They'd have to sign a contract. That's the only pig that they have, and maybe that could be included in the ordinance as well, that if you get more than one, inside of city limits, and you're going to keep it in your house like this, that you get fined, or the pig goes back to us, where we properly take care of it, and it can go to another home, because they're not strictly going to stay in Mitchell. We've had people from Minnesota, Iowa, contact us about them because nobody in the Midwest has them. They have those pot bellies, but not like ours. Ours aren't even pot bellies. So
honestly, if I was going to pick a pig, which I'm not, I grew up on a farm. I am not going to start with pigs. I would certainly think this little miniature pig would be ideal from what the fact that you can train them to be litter box trained and what you do. But to be honest with you, you have brought these pigs in what would be considered, I guess, illegal in regards to the Mitchell City ordinances. And it's really no different than coming in and building a structure without going through the proper channels. And that's no different from city to city. I mean, you may recall that Sioux Falls had a situation where somebody built a house that was much larger than was supposed to happen in a neighborhood. They've been given, and I don't remember what the amount of time is, that they have to bring that house into compliance with their ordinances. So
even though we were approved for, and we got the permit to build that size, it's
for the building, but you didn't get the permit for the animals.
Okay.
That's the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, what you did with getting the building was appropriate. You followed the rules and regulations. But the fact that the building is basically, a barn, so to speak, that's the part that comes into the problem.
Cassandra, one of the things that you just suggested was that we put a requirement that there would only be able to be like one pig per household. Would you be willing to downsize to one pig?
I would, I mean, then I wouldn't even be able to sell them that way. I mean, if I have to, I don't want to. If I have to get rid of them, I do. But I mean, like inside their house, like, you know, different than what I'm doing. But I get where you're coming from. You know, you got to be fair to everybody.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I have people that, like I said, that are calling me constantly. Do you guys have babies yet? Do you have babies yet? I said, well, what are you looking for? I just want one. I was like, because you can't breed it. They're all going to be fixed. You know, that's why I was saying maybe put a requirement in there. That's why I'm asking to modify it, not completely change it, just to different, you know. I mean, if I have to downsize to just a couple maybe, you know, but I really don't want to have to get rid of them all. Like I said, we consider them pets, not livestock.
Right.
So.
And you understand the position we're in, because we have to be fair. If we tell you, you can keep the barn and you can breed them and you can sell them, and we change that zoning ordinance, then suddenly we have opened it up for everybody. I need to tell you that my brother in Oregon has one of these. So if he were listening in, he would be like, let her have her pigs. But you have to understand the ramifications of what you're asking, and it's really challenging, because while our hearts are like, you know, this was a really good tactic, the pictures, but while you say that, it's a really challenging thing, because when we say yes to you, we're opening an entire discussion for people who want any kind of an animal that they want to breed, and they want to build a barn, and they want to have a business out of their home.
So we've got a list of neighbors and other individuals that have signed that said that we're okay or in favor. Justin, how did this come to you? Did we have a complaint?
I just had an inquiry. Somebody was curious about the operation.
Can I explain what that was?
Sure. Can you come up, please, to the microphone?
I can explain it. My boyfriend is going through child custody with the mother of his kids. She moved to Watertown. She's known about our pigs since we've had them. She told her lawyer that we were raising livestock in our basement, and he took it as we were raising 300-pound pigs inside of my house. So they came over and said, you cannot have your livestock here, and that's why this came about. My neighbors never complain. My neighbor loves them. That's why I didn't even know if I needed anything like that, but I just wanted to show they don't make noise, they don't bother anybody, they don't smell. We take very good care of them. You know, I mean, so we had our neighbors are all around us signing them, and then other people in the community that have seen them, or, you know, anything like that have no problem with this, you know, that are supporting, because they know how much I love them, you know. I mean, I was not even in the country when my pig had his stroke, and I cried for 2 weeks straight because he was my pet. You know, he wasn't something I was going to butcher to eat in a month. So, I mean, I know it's something to think about. So, I mean, I'm hoping instead of just a no today, you think about it and maybe let us have them. And, I mean, we can show you it can be contained. It's not going to be something crazy that you are going to regret.
What other type of domesticated pigs are there? You mentioned the Potbelly and then the Juliana.
There's Julianas, there's Cuninis, there's Potbelly, there's Kukanis, and there's also 3 other breeds that I can't say their names. Because the lady that I got one of mine from, she has the different breeds.
I can tell you, I work in an apartment complex here in Mitchell. And with the rentals that we see, there are people that come in with their animals and they take absolutely great care of them. Mm-hmm. There are also people that come in with their animals and they cannot. They have the animals, whatever their intentions are, whatever their reasons are. We end up having apartments left with feces, urine embedded into the carpets. And I know from other people that rent homes and rent houses, apartments around town, this is not uncommon. Here we're talking, animals that are considered domestic animals, not even a pig. But I can only see that if this was allowed in Mitchell, it would proliferate. And I can very much see that I would end up with pigs in my apartment buildings. And I don't see anything but problems because I'm sorry to say not everybody is as good of an owner as what you are. I wish people cared as much about animals and cared as much about people as what you obviously do. And I'm sorry to say that's not how the world is.
Cassandra, did you buy in your pigs in another town?
All of them came from, I drove all the way to Georgia, Oklahoma, and Arkansas to get them.
Okay, were they out on farms?
No.
They were in city limits?
Yes. Yep. All but one of them, and that's because they own a whole bunch of land. But the one I got from Georgia, otherwise the rest of them were in city limits where they came from. And one lady actually lived in an apartment with hers. She got it for her autistic son because they can be trained as companion pets as well. The lady I got mine from Georgia from has one named Piper. She takes it to kids' walks and to kids' hospital and everything. So, I mean, they're very smart animals. They're very good animals. So,
and I'm sure Justin probably explained this to you, but even we as a group decide that it's something that we may want to look at or could, or we may decide not to either as far as our ordinances, as far as animals are concerned. But the zoning seems to be quite an issue. And I don't know, in order for anything to be, even if we move forward with this, in order to give you proper authority to move forward or have this type of operation, you have to understand that different parts of the city have different, we got residential, we got commercial, we've got all different types of zoning. And then with that zoning, you're allowed to do certain things. There's permitted uses, and then there's conditional use, which the conditional use is you come to us and ask for permission. Right now, where you're located, none of that is included.
okay.
To even have a conditional. So it's something that I think maybe at this point, if you brought it to our attention and we're thinking about it at least, I think maybe even with moving forward with an ordinance, if we wanted to include pets with our animal ordinance, you still wouldn't be allowed to do it because of the zoning.
Right.
Maybe you need to visit with Neil, our city planner, and with Justin, and at least get an idea of what zoning is that does permit this, or does have conditional use, and then Neil can possibly bring some things back to us if we decide that we want to at least look at it. But Justin, I don't know where you're at with this, but that's a difficult situation.
Right. As far as the zoning issue goes, either you'd have to amend the ordinance to allow for animal boarding in R2, or you'd have to rezone the property to something that allowed animal boarding.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering. You can't spot zone, so it has to abut up to something else that would allow it. So that's why I'm wondering if you can at least work with Cassandra a little bit. At least she knows what her options are. And then from there, if you want to bring it back to the council for more discussion and maybe action at that point. But I think you need to understand exactly where you're living right now and what it does allow and what it does not.
Okay.
And it would have to go through the planning commission. So it'd be quite a process to change. Our zoning code is huge. So it would have to start with the planning commission. They'd have hearings there. They would contact your neighbors. And even before that, would even have to be a conditional use.
We'd have to get
and that would
conditional use added to this.
have to be added to that type of zoning or rezone. So there's a lot of, unfortunately, you're doing everything right, and you did not understand all these legalities behind the scene, but now that we're aware of it, then you just need to work with the city and the attorneys, and if there's a way, then maybe we can look at it. If not, then unfortunately, you might have to look elsewhere or downsize what you've got.
Would it be feasible for me to ask permission to keep them and not breed them until we figure all this out then?
That goes to whether pet pigs or any other definition of pigs could be kept as, could be considered as pets based on the current ordinance.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just asking just for Juliana's, not potbellies, not
But
large
that-
ones.
But unfortunately, the code as it says now is pigs, and they're a pig. So that would have to be changed in order for you to keep. The part of the concern I have, and Justin, so the first question is, if this R2 area was approved and changed to have a conditional use of pet boarding, would that have to apply to all R2s in the city?
Yes.
Okay, that's an issue. Then say that if that did go through, so that you could do that, but we didn't change the definition of pigs, then they could do that, but they wouldn't be allowed to sell them to anybody to have them in town. Because nobody in town could keep a pig as a pet. So both of those would have to be changed in order for a business to operate to be that way.
Right, both would need to be changed to accommodate.
Justin, my question is, I feel like, and maybe I'm drawing a conclusion that doesn't exist, but I assume that there are people within the city limits and presumably within the R2 districts in town that do breed dogs that have litters of pets and sell them out of their homes that we probably don't know about. No one turns them in because I think that when people's dogs have puppies, they sell them, or kittens. I mean, you see kittens on websites. We have this litter of kittens for sale, and they, live in city limits. I mean, does this mean that we need to start pursuing that, or are we? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? I guess my
Right.
question is,
And I guess.
what's fair for one is fair for another.
Right, really all I can say is that we address the situations that we're aware of. So, a lot of times those, I don't know, more traditional operations or smaller scale aren't going to go noticed. Whereas something like this happened to come up, so.
I hope we can find a way for you to keep your pigs.
Me too.
You know Neil, don't you?
No.
Neil? He's right back there, that blue one. That's where you just start with.
Okay.
Just for the council's information, she was issued a citation or a ticket, given a letter by law enforcement to have the animals removed within 10 days. We have been tolling that up until the point of this hearing. And if I'm hearing the direction from the council correctly and you want us to come back with some potential solutions, it would be my intention to continue to toll that period where they'd have to remove the animals. So I just want to see if I'm off base with everybody here. Or
That's fine for now.
Will we be able to get this on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the next meeting, Neil? No? How soon could we get it on there?
Probably be in July.
July?
And that should give us time to work out some potential language for the ordinance changes too, so.
And I believe that'd be July 10th, I believe.
Yep, I think that's correct.
Of course, we always look for other cities to see what they have, and I guess we always want to grow up to be a big city someday. So maybe in the meantime, Justin, if you can kind of get some ideas of what else is out there and who permits it, who does not, and for what, maybe you can talk to some city attorneys and see what some experience they've had with these type of animals.
Yeah, I'll do what I can to find some guidance.
We have a little bit more time to
Thank you
research.
very much, all of you.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, before moving on, I'm going to back up about 5 points here. I neglected to do something during the public input session, and I wanted to make a comment regarding Dave Tronis. This is his last committee meeting, and he will not be able to attend the July 3rd meeting when we're doing our transition of council members. So I want to first of all say thank you, Dave, for your years of service. The city of Mitchell, we appreciate it. We thank you very much. I had this note that was handed to me, Billy handed it to me, and it says the gift is in the black bag at your feet, so I didn't even notice it was down there, so I'm sorry about that, Dave. Okay. Anyway, we appreciate everything you've done for the city. And, okay, moving on to the agenda, the next thing is action to award bid for wastewater enforcement phase 3 pump station, city project number 2017-12.
This is, and I'm glad the staff report is in front of you and on the screen. This is part of the third phase of wastewater force main, and this is the second and third bid of the third phase. The first bid in phase 3 was a bid for the pipeline to get from where we terminated on the north side of I-90 down to the plant. And that was awarded to Metro Contracting for $480,619. Other costs out of the $800,000 budget are shown there. SPN's contract for $36,500 and an easement purchase for Schlafman of $2,000. So of the $800,000, we have $280,881 remaining. In this bid was Schedule A, B, and C. The low bidder was Dieter Prohl Construction, and a longtime contractor in the state of South Dakota with a good bid of $167,470. We also bid under Schedule D VFDs, which are variable frequency drives, which eliminate high peaks and energy use on our pumps. We have large horsepower pumps that pump the wastewater from the plant down by Dry Run Creek up to the lagoon area through several miles of pipe. And they use a lot of power, and the VFDs will limit the peak demands on those motors and pumps. But Schedule D also puts us $76,000 over the $800,000 we had budgeted. We have had a study completed, and the VFDs will pay for themselves in 6.21 years. So I think they're an excellent investment, a worthy investment. We do have over $900,000 in the sewer fund, and I'd like to apply that fund to the $76,000 and award Schedule A, B, and C to Dieter Prohl and Schedule D to TK Electric.
What's the life of that mechanism, Tim? Typically,
we've installed, I would say 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
I spoke with John about this one earlier today, and I'm going to make a motion to approve with all of the bids, the A, B, C, and D.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion. So, is there some discussion?
So, yeah, so where will the $76,000 come from?
Since this is an enterprise fund,
Yep, we can take it out of.
you can take it out of that funds reserve. Like Tim said, you have about 900,000 sitting in that
Or we could
fund.
take it out of contingency total if we.
No.
No?
You don't have the contingency fund available, and that would just be to give you the budget authority to send from general fund to sewer. So the appropriate place is out of the sewer fund reserve.
The $900,000 is raised solely by sewer charges.
Right, right. And
Tim,
so, yeah, go ahead.
Your ROI of 6 years, is what your ROI was on the VFDs?
Well, 6.21 is how it calculated out.
That's on page 199.
Is there other VFDs you can apply that aren't as expensive, or is it a specific drive?
I don't think we called out. I don't think we called out a make and model of the VFD, just specifications. So.
Okay.
I understand the VFD. We have all kinds of them. So I mean, it's a good idea. I just wondered if you looked at other VFDs that maybe get you an ROI of 4 years.
Well, we can check with the contractor, TK Electric. I'm sure if there is one that'll work, he'll be very upfront with us.
And Tim, so, and part of this ROI is based on the power factor charge that you're getting, can't we? That's an adjustment in the electrical system to make the power factor charge go to zero. That should be able to go to zero without VFDs being purchased.
Well, the power factor, you know, when they crank.
We had the
when-
same issue at the ice arena that we had to make adjustments on to get rid of power factors.
Well, we have power factors also at the James River Pump Station, and when those large motors kick on, they send the load way up in the air, and that's what that fee is based on, of course. We have soft starts in places which aren't as good at recovering that factor.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just curious. We've done lots of good whole systems. Okay. Yeah, we have these.
We had a motion second?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's okay.
Voted on, that's fine.
Okay, voted on, we're ready to go, okay. Next is the action to award bid for manhole.
Jerry, can we do the vote on that?
Oh, I thought you did.
I guess I didn't, I think we got about halfway through it.
That's what I was asking, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries then. Okay, action to award bid for manhole rehabilitation, city project number 2017-21.
And I need to point out, I'm doing the talking, but John Vermillion is a very competent wastewater superintendent, and if I wasn't here, he'd be very competent explaining all of this to you as well. I have become a short timer, and my replacement needs to count on John and the other staff a lot. They're all very competent. This item now is for lining manholes with a high-strength rotary sprayed concrete liner inside manholes which are deteriorating. The concrete that is sprayed on in this fashion reaches over 8,000 pounds per square inch, where sidewalk or curb and gutter or other concrete in your house is typically 4,000 psi. So this concrete is twice the strength of any concrete that you see out on the street. This is the first such bid that we have put together, and we looked at other cities. We used some of their specs, particularly Huron. My estimating back at budget time a year ago was probably off, but we chose 20 manholes starting in the area of Shorty's Locker, going under Highway 38. If you know that very large grade, some of these sewers are in excess of 35 feet deep, all the way to the wastewater plant down by Dry Run Creek. These manholes are in poor condition. We've talked to the contractor. That we could have put this on the agenda at the last meeting, but we're trying to get at least a phone conference together with the contractor from Watertown, which we did. He had examined some of these manholes, and they are in very poor condition. I hate to put this off. If we do have manholes that he doesn't think he can, out of these 20, repair, there's another method of repairing those that we'll probably budget for in the future, which is basically putting a new fiberglass or other type of manhole inside and then filling the interstitial space with concrete, basically putting a manhole inside of a manhole if we have to. Would be more expensive. Replacing these 20 manholes would probably be on the order of 10 times this amount. So I'm of the opinion and recommendation, as is John, we talked about this long and hard, that we should award this to Key Contracting and again use part of our $900,000 sewer fund to pay for this. If we put it off till another budget year, this would be one of our top priorities. So it's going to come out of that $900,000 one way or another. The work won't begin until A, B, C, and D is done. So we won't have any work on this probably until December or January. So that fund will continue to build. So my recommendation is to award this to Key Contracting.
Tim, how old is this pipe here that's underground?
Oh, I believe probably mid-70s.
Wow.
Move to approve key contracting for the bid. For the
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Next is the action to reject all bids for locker room remodel, city project number 2017-32.
Park and Rec Director Nathan Powell was not able to be here tonight, so I told him I would report on the Park and Rec Board's recommendation for him. They had included in the budget $120,000 to remodel the locker rooms. The bids came in at a total price at $269,904. So it came in about $150,000 over what the estimate was. When the Park and Rec Board held their discussions last year on capital projects, part of the conversation or one of the priorities that board had identified was the roof structure. That became a secondary priority just due to not knowing what the pool construction was going to disrupt of the locker rooms. So based on the dollar amount that the bids came in, that they came in $150,000 over bid, it was the Park and Rec Board's recommendation that the council reject all of these bids, and in turn they'll go seek quotes on what it'll cost to do some of those roof repairs that they're experiencing problems right now with, and come up with a quote to bring back to the council to do some of those repairs with that capital funds. So it's not that they're not going to do a capital investment. They still want to use those funds to repair the roof that's already leaking. But they, even based on a couple of recommendations, they think that you can get a better value redoing those locker rooms when you do a larger project. The largest cost that was different from what the estimate was the mobilization and the tearing things down. So that led the group to believe that you do it as part of a larger project, you're going to get a better cost later on, or a better price proposal later on.
Yep. And being the liaison, we have a meeting this Thursday, and capital is number one priority that we'll be discussing, so.
Reject.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is action on resolution R2017-43, a plat of lots 2A-1 and 2A-2, Block 2 of B and J DeVries, First Edition, in the northeast quarter of Section 31T, 104 North, R60 west of the 5th PM, Davison County, South Dakota.
This was presented to the Planning Commission at their June 12th meeting, and they did recommend approval. I'm also can report that the county has already approved this. It's outside the city limits, so.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on resolution R2017-44, a plat of Lot 8, Block 3 of CJM, Second Edition, in the northwest quarter of Section 32, T104 North, R60 west of the 5th PM, a portion of which lies within the city of Mitchell, Davison County, South Dakota.
Again, the Planning Commission did consider this at their last meeting and did recommend approval of this. This one also is part of that. You may recall when we did that second plan development district a couple weeks ago or a couple meetings ago. This is one of the first lots out of that. Am I correct on that? One of the first ones, yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on resolution R2017-45, a plat of Lot 30 of the Island First Edition, a subdivision of the southeast quarter of Section 31, T104 North, R60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davison County, South Dakota.
Again, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this one.
It's the same thing, just following the master plan.
Yep, it's kind of in the island area.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is action on resolution R2017-46, a plat of Lot 6, Block 2 of CJM, Second Edition, in the northwest quarter of Section 32, T104 North, R60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to the Planning Commission. They recommend approval.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is action on resolution R 2017-47, Lot 4A, a subdivision of Lot 4 of Cabela's First Edition, located in the south half of Section 27, Township 103 North, Range 60 West, to the City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to the Planning Commission at their last meeting and recommended approval. Basically, what this is Cabela's is platting off a parcel separate for probably either retention or for some other types of development, so.
So
that's
it's already been platted as part of,
It's all part of Cabela's. It's all
Cabela's
part of
plat.
Lot 4. As you see, they just want to have a 4A.
Oh, I
And
see.
so they're,
so it's
want
just
to have it as
separate.
two separate pieces for some reason.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve resolution R 2017-48, JBCC Facility Rental Application and Agreement.
As you all know, the JVCC is now a city entity, and we have been renting the facility through the old senior citizens contract agreement. With the help of Justin, we did update the agreement. We increased the rates slightly, not very much, approximately $25 at the most per block. And then some are only $5 increase. And then we increased the deposit up by $50. It's now $200 for a damage deposit. And the new rental agreement allows the use of, to bring in alcohol or to have an organization sponsor the sales of alcohol in the facility.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have questions. I've heard from other private entities in town that have spaces for rent for this type of thing, that they're worried that we're competing with them. I also wonder, do we know what, we're charging $150 general purpose after hours time for a 4-hour time slot. What is our cost of that? I don't want to have the city operating a enterprise below cost and competing against private enterprise.
We don't have staff on site during that time.
I'm not asking about whether you have staff or not.
So there's no cost on that.
What
but
your cost is.
It'd be the cost
to have
for
that 4 hours
heating
of
and,
operation.
right, the heating and the electricity and that kind of stuff. Our heating is actually set to be the same no matter what. So that doesn't
That
change.
still doesn't answer my question. I want to know what the dollar figure is to operate for 4 hours during a time when somebody is renting it. And if you don't know that,
I do
then
not know.
how did you come up with the $150?
We compared it to Davidson County Fairgrounds, their rental rates, as well as other.
But they're not operating in your building.
Correct. That's where I came up with those prices, though.
Okay.
I think that she did her due diligence, to look for comparisons, and it's been used for graduation parties, it's been used for Tupperware parties, it's been used for anniversary parties and birthday parties in association with a number of people, especially that are already members of the James Valley, or of the James Valley Community Center or Senior Center grouping. This is finally an opportunity where we can take a building that we own and make it available to the public, where taxpayers have an opportunity to use that building, and it's not being used just a matter of maybe 6 hours, 5 days a week. This is good use of a public taxpayers building. And I'm going to take my little soapbox opportunity and say that I've been on the Community Services Board, and I was obviously very highly involved in getting the James Valley Community Center under the auspices of the city. It was through my push that this has happened, and then through the work of an awful lot of other people. I've been sitting on that board then ever since the city took it on, and it is working absolutely beautifully. They are seeing increase in memberships. You walk in there, and the 2 activities coordinators that we now have are doing a fantastic job of keeping activities for our residents of Mitchell to take part in. It is probably, it's a pride, and it's a jewel that has not been utilized nearly enough. And I think that as time comes, that it is going to continue to be a focal part of our uptown business area, our uptown business district. It's something that we keep talking about, our uptown business district. Well, this is a piece of it, and it is an actual jewel. And I want to thank Jessica for everything that she has done to do grants, to coordinate. It's, thank you very much.
Jessica, you don't have to be a member to rent this, do you?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Did we already have a motion to approve? Oh, that was still, okay, that was just discussion. Okay, I withdraw my repeat.
Somewhere we have a first and a second, okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is executive session. Motion to enter into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 3, contractual, legal, and South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, 1, personnel.
Second.
In favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
What time is it?